Happy Saturday, everyone. So we are back for week 40. Amazing, amazing. This has just been such an incredible journey, and I just can't thank you all enough for being on this journey with me. So many of you have reached out and, private emails and just shared some of your stories with me. All the comments, I look forward to them every week just to see where you all are on your journey. Some of you have been keeping up with every video. Some have had things happen, during the course of your year and you fell a little bit behind, but then you've picked back up. Some of you have had just the joy of voyeurism and knowing that at some point you will move into the journals. And there's, like I always say, there's no right or no wrong. The main thing is inspiration. And wherever we, connect on this path is where we connect. And I'm just so grateful and thankful for so many of you all who have, gone on this exploration. And so much of this is helping me flesh out my next book. And I'm just so excited. So I just wanted to just stop and say a personal thank you as we move into week 40. And week 40 is ArchaeoMythology. Now, it's funny, I've called myself an archaeomythologist for many years, in the same vein as Marjorie Gimbutas, who was an archaeologist. And she first coined the term archaeomythologist because it's about the idea of archaeology, which is the discovery of textural materials and discovering storylines from finding pots and bits and pieces that are left over or discovered or uncovered from various ancient societies and groups of people. And of course the mythology is simply storytelling. And I saw that as an artist because I'm always looking for textural materials in my work. We studied that a bit last week and explored it a bit last week, right, with textural materials. And I was always looking at how I was telling stories, visual dialogues with these materials. So being an anthropologist and having studied archaeology myself, going on a numberous archaeological digs over the course of the years, and just being a lover of the visual dialogues, this just always resonated with me. And sometimes I've even called myself an archaeomythologist because it's like the art, of it. So either way, whichever resonates with you. So week 40 is ArchaeoMythology, the art of telling our stories. So as we enter into the last quarter of our journey together, we have learned so much more about ourselves, our loves, our joys, the ways in which we create, excuse me, and the whys of our creating, and the importance of our voices. We are more focused in our abilities to tell visual stories. We recognize so much more easily the symbols and elements of our visual vocabularies and the passion that drives us towards communicating with our world through visual exchanges. We are becoming more comfortable with our explorations as archaeomythologists as we continue to dig and uncover lost materials from our lives, our emotions, our relationships, and our dreams and desires. Transforming them into humble stories that, if for no one else, please us and bring joy of expression. Even if we continue to tuck these stories between the pages of our journals, into the drawers of our desks, and close the doors to our rooms we create them in, even if no other living soul will ever see them, we are still satisfied with these dialogues. They have served their purpose in our lives. This week, review your journals, the work of the past 9 months, enjoy flipping through the pages, and make new discoveries. Allow the pages to tell their stories and create this week from these enlightened visual dialogues. So much love to each of you, my friends and fellow journeyers. So much love, Robin. And so we are at this moment, week 40, on our journey to go back into time and rediscover so many things that are in our journals. And we have hundreds of pages. We can literally say we have hundreds of pages now of artwork. This is what I did last week with the pages that we made. So many of you really love those. I love that process of making paper. So I'm glad it really resonated with you all. So this week I decided to just work on these mini collages, because I would work with these textural papers in larger collages, you know. But a lot of times I work with these little small collages too that I just love framing. And they just make nice small statements that you can stick, you know, like on an odd spot in your home, and just, you know, sort of be a visual reminder of things that you're working on. So this one is super simple because so much work just went into the actual creating of the paper, and just laying it on that gold background, just keeping it just so simple, I think makes such a statement. Here I just worked with a lot of the grays and just sort of kept it very monotone. This is some paper that I had already, some handmade paper with that sort of gold square on it. So I just kind of worked that on here. On these pages, I explored, you know, some of the deeper tones. This is that paper that we made using the cheesecloth. I mean, it doesn't even look like just, you know, some humble cheesecloth, does it? This is some paper I already had that had the you know, the cords in it, like I showed you all to make. And this is paper that I purchased like this. I think a large sheet of it was like $14 or $16 or something like that. And I love it. But, you know, making it ourselves is just as beautiful. And then this is some other mulberry paper that I stained with coffee to use. So yeah, these were how those collages came together. I really like them. I mean, can't you just see these in a small, really just a small, elegant frame, maybe even a vintage frame with, you know, like sort of gold, maybe even like an elaborate gold frame or something like that. That's, you know, like vintage, and then sticking this down in there, sort of a contemporary look. I like mixing those kind of things together. So anyway, that's where we are. Let's get down to the table because I have some fun printing that we're going to do around the idea of visual dialogue. So I'll see you shortly. Okay, so let's get ready. We are actually going to do some painting in the style that I call Fragments. I think I've shown this to you all before. Using my hearth code stencils, and I'm going to use some of the stencils from my first collection as well, which was the scripting. We're going to work on our this is a little bit of tracing paper too, but we're going to work on our acid-free tissue papers. I always like to work with the tissue papers because you get the real nice thin images on this paper that then we can collage. And I want to kind of do this sort of collage on top of collage on top of collage. I'm going to see how well we can actually see a lot of the images, you know, sort of buried beneath it. But it's a fun technique. It's a neat way to build up a lot of images for dialogue, and we can just use a lot of stencils you already have. If you are, so many of you already have my stencils, so I thought it'd be fun to come back and work with those. And it's like a super easy process that, you know, another kind of process you can hang out and look at a movie, spend time with the family, because it's not really messy either. If you kind of sit at your dining room table or, you know, coffee table while you're looking at movies and just kind of have fun, or have a podcast on. This is the kind of stuff I like to do when I'm just kind of want to do sort of mindless working, but really still walk away with stuff that I can use. So I'm working with goldens today. It just happens to be because I want to work with my favorite palette, which is the iridescent bronze, quinacridone azo gold, the white zinc, black. White and black are always good, so you can do it in any palette. I am going to work with the champagne golds in the Martha Stewart and the Craft Smart. These are all just craft paints, so they're a couple of dollars. and this one is also champagne. These are metallics, and I like to sort of get the metallic so that we can kind of have the push and pull of color and lightness, but you could use any colors that you want. Any paint works beautifully for this technique. So let's get started. I also have some Punchella because I wanted to make some background pieces. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. So basically, I just kind of cut it into more manageable pieces. It helps me to store it easily too, because I can just store it flat in my flat files without, you know. Let me get a clean piece of wax paper. This one, I think, it feels like it has some sort of candle wax on it. So we'll move that over. I can use this as a palette. Oh no, this, I can feel the candle wax on that. So this will be our palette. You can just use wax paper as a palette as well. I need to get another palette anyway, because mine is all gone. I've used it up. Okay, so let's lay this down. And I'm gonna get started. This is like uber easy, but very effective. So let's grab I might work 2 at a time. That way I can get one white and one tan of some of the same images without me trying to remember how to, you know, like which ones I just did. So when the stencils are out, I can get some of them on 2 different colors. So I like to work like that. Also, oh, by the way, I meant to mention in the opening that I put the links are for, you know, in the bio for the upcoming workshop, which is this Sunday. Many of you have already signed up for it. You know, as always, thank you so much. And it's going to be what I call grunge photo transfers. If you ever want to like do photo transfer with on the Gelli plate, tomorrow is a good day for that. So the link is below, and I'm looking forward to having fun in that. Put this one here in that workshop. So just wanted to remind those, because it's amazing how many people sign up every week, you know, and I think it's a lot of times you know that you want to do it, and then you know, when it comes due, you're like, oh my goodness, I meant to sign up, that kind of thing. I know I do that a lot. I just signed up last night for some classes. It's not in art, but it's, I study love studying Hindu, you know, Vedic goddesses and Durgas, and it's this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start off with white. I realized I was supposed to sign up for this series that starts October 6th, and then another one that starts the 23rd with it's the same teacher. I love her, Laura Amazzoni. And I forgot, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's about ready to close on me. So I reached out to her, and I'm like, oh, Laura, I definitely want to take this workshop series. And she's like, no problem, you know, I'll get you in. So I know I do that. So a lot of times we'll remind everyone. If you're on my email list, then we, you know, try to remind you there. And yeah. And then of course I try to remind you here. You know how it goes. So I'm using the white. Now this zinc white, I love it for pulling residue off the Gelli plate. There's nothing like it. But at the same time, it makes a really kind of sort of etheric kind of white, because it's not like overly, I don't know what it's a fluid acrylic, so of course it's got a lot of pigment in it, but because it's goldens. But it's amazing how it how it is, I just want to put a little more down. How it just has a really beautiful kind of etheric kind of coloring. It's kind of hard to describe it. Okay, so we'll take that. I'm gonna put this, even though it's white, I'm gonna do white on white. I'm good with that. You just kind of want to, when you're doing these, you really do kind of want to make as many sort of options of color, you know, as you can. So see, it's just really pretty. So we'll put those over here to dry, and let's do it over here. I'm gonna do white on white because you'll see I want to do some layering. So I'll collage with these in the journal when we're done this part of it. I don't know how long this could end up being a long video, so if you need to pause it, or if you decide you want to kind of work along with me, then, you know, pause it and go get your stuff, because once we do the printing, I'll come back and do some collaging in the journal. Okay. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is I want to kind of wipe these off as I go. I know for those of you looking at it, you're probably thinking, oh my God. But since I'm going to be using these over again, I don't want that paint just to be sitting there kind of getting too gloppy, if that's a word. Okay. Alrighty. So let's get some more on this white. Let me pull out a circle, put that one there, and we have some of these sizes. Love it. Let's do this one here next. Okay. That there. Let's get this one. These I'm using, okay, I can see some of this black is transferring because it's actually ink, so it's okay. So it'll end up being sort of a gray color, maybe a little bit more, but it gives it a nice look. That's the Sumi ink on there. Sometimes it'll reactivate. Okay, and some more white down here. Let's put this one down. Okay, so we got a nice grouping of white here. Feel like I can squeeze one more on here, so let's go ahead and squeeze this one right down here. Can you guys see? I'm not too far off the edge, am I? Alrighty. Okay. There we are. So, let's put this to the side so that it can dry. I'm going to show you something since I have this stencil here. Oh, not that one. Oh, you have the ones cut over here. It's a technique that I've used when I'm cleaning my stencils. So take a baby wipe. I'm going to just put a little bit more. Oops. Let's put a little bit more paint on it. Just a little bit. I'm just going to put it around the stencil, actually. but literally I'll take a baby wipe and sort of clean this stencil and clean the paint off into the stencil, and it's amazing, honestly, the look that you get. So where is my, let me get my, how come I don't see, this is interesting. I always have my, this one I want to show you all. I always have my alcohol right there, and now I don't even see the alcohol. What happened to it? Oh, alrighty, because a little bit of alcohol does something very interesting as well. But let me just go ahead and use this. So you kind of have to hold these pieces down because we're really rubbing it. I have no idea what happened to my alcohol. It's always right here on my desk. If you have a little bit of like just rubbing alcohol, you can actually, it'll move the paint off of your stencil nicely. But anyhow, just wanted to show you this. See how you get this really neat kind of rubbed texture? So even if you have fresh paint down, you can go ahead and clean your fresh paint off, right off your stencil onto a surface like this, and you really pick up some very interesting images. So I wanted to show you all that. Okay, so let's go for another color now. So we're going to put this down with some white. Okay, I feel like I have so many moving parts here. Let me just make this narrower so they both can fit here easily. Okay, there we are. Now, so let's go to this one down here. I hate wasting paint, so I have some white here. I'm just going to go ahead and use up real quickly with a different stencil that I didn't put on this one because I didn't use this on here either. So we'll just kind of put some down, and these are really quick. It's not like you've really got to do much with them. Okay, and I don't think I did this one. Okay. Okay, so now let's go to another color. I'm gonna go for the gold. I love working with the gold, and I'm gonna put this down because I can use the gold here. I have some more space, and I haven't done gold on this tan. So let's go ahead and get some gold. And I get these sponge things from the dollar store, so they're cheapo. And they work great for this process, and then they're wonderful. You can just throw them right away, you know. You get like 20 of them or something for $1, so it's perfect. Love it. Let me see. Just going to kind of stick things in places. Trying to find a skinny one. I'll just start another piece. Okay, so here's a white, and here's another brown. So let's get the gold. So we're going to kind of, I'm just going to repeat some of the ones that we've already used. It's nice to kind of do them in the same stencils in different colors, and because then we can kind of get an overlay of of some of the same images. Like you could almost sort of like do like the concept of a drop shadow when we go to put these down. So these symbols are so much a part of my art mythos, because what I love about the symbols that I did for this Hearth Code collection is that they're universal. They're just literally universal symbols. These symbols are found just across. Now these scripting ones, these scripting are so these are my just intuitive lines and you know, mark making, or what I call kanji, I mean, or kana. Oh my god, kanji is the traditional, but kana is also traditional scripting that women did when they wanted to write letters to each other without the men knowing exactly what they were saying. So so it's in the tradition of kana. But these right here are my interpretations of a lot of symbols that you can find throughout the various cultures on, you know, cave drawings, indigenous pottery. Put this here. You know, just wherever a lot of, you know, the ancient symbols will show up, these are sort of like universal. A lot of these you'll find over and over again in cultures. And so when I did this collection, it was just about showing the variety. Like this right here could be Native American. It also could very easily be Ghanaian. So many of these images are used over and over again. And like this bottom piece can very much be like I Ching, right? It's just how you look at them, and you know how you're in relationship to the various symbols. So yeah. So use bits and pieces of them. I always say with my stencils is that, you know, like just use the top of it, only use the bottom of it, use a portion of it, make them your own. Like whatever part of the stencil that you may really like, you can repeat that and use that as a part of your own, you know, language and dialogue. So they don't have to be used as a total unit. Okay, so let's put some more of this over here. How are we looking on time? Okay, I'm gonna do some black, so you guys kind of get the idea of what we're doing here. Let me get some black because I know I want to work with that. Okay, so you see how we're just getting these tissue paper thin images for our dialogue. And also, let's get a little bit of a punchella. I do sell punchella on my website, but honestly, I don't charge a lot for it. Only, you know, charge $5, and you get like 10 yards of it because I do different hole sizes, whatever I have available. But it's just ridiculous. It costs more to ship this little. It used to be like $2, $3. I'm telling you, the post office has gone up so much that it costs more to mail it to you all, even though I can put it in a little envelope, than the package costs. So I'm doing First Friday sales now. Many of you know that because you've jumped on and gotten some of my one-of-a-kind books and packs and different things that I'm sharing with the community, various journaling supplies and stuff that I love to use. As I'm clearing out my studio for my move, I mean, I'm keeping a lot of stuff. Don't think I'm clearing out and getting rid of everything. I'll be moving, and sometimes I think it's easier to move things out and share it before you just, enter into a huge studio move. And it's time for me to share some stuff out. I haven't shared things out in years, so. But with the Punchella, oh, I love that pattern. So I'm going to do a smaller pattern. And let's do that in the, I think I'm going to do it in the quinacridone. That way we get another color in here. And so, I'm saying all this to say, when I'm doing first Friday, so the first Friday of every month, for the most part, I may skip some just because it's a lot of getting together of stuff, even though my oldest daughter has been helping me with it, thankfully. She's so organized, but she flies for the airline, so when she can, normally in the month during her downtime, she's been able to actually just do it all. Take pictures, post it, do the shipping. But anyway, it's good to do the Punchella as an add-on. That's what I'm trying to say. So if you see something else that you want, it could be paper packs, it could be whatever else is up, that's a good time then to grab the Punchella, because now the shipping is for more than just the Punchella. Then it sort of makes sense. So I kind of do it as an add-on, because I know it's hard to find this stuff as well. Okay, so we got a nice little thing going here of some of the dot pattern. Okay, so you can see what we're doing here. So we're just getting just things that we can use in our collaging. That's nice. Okay, now let me just do some black ones real quick, and then I'll get my journal. Once all these sort of dry down, I'll come back and we'll now let me see. I want to use this one. Let me get, oh, I know, I want to use this one. Let's use this one for the black. And use this one for the black, and because that's a nice kind of full pattern. This one could be nice. Let's see, just trying to get, let's use this one. So we'll use these. So I'm going to use this one here again. Okay, so black. Okay. Move this one over. Let's go ahead and do this one. So hopefully by now you guys got your own stuff and you're hanging out with me doing this yourself. Just wanted to show you. And let's get this one. Let's use this one. This is a good one to do in a different color. Okay. Wow, that looks good. This one down. Okay, so I'm going to do this last stencil because you're going to see me use it. And then I'll let these dry and then I'll come back. Have a collage session. Wow, those look good. So let's grab this one here on the white. It's not going to be the whole bit of it. We'll just get some of it. So here again. This one I really liked doing because it was just kind of a sort of a labyrinth of sorts of different patterns from some cave art. That's I think it's like, I would say this was Paleolithic period. But look how modern it is. It's amazing how modern these patterns can be when you sort of take them out of the context of like an old wall or some other images around it that may also kind of in a way date it, you know. And I do kind of stylize them, so I stylized them some. It's not like these are the exact kind of lines of that piece, but the piece was an inspiration for it. Okay, so there we have it. Okay, there we go. So there we have it. So I'm going to let these dry, and then we're going to come back and we're going to use a series of these to collage in our journal. So I'll be right back. Just a quick example of cleaning off your stencils with rubbing alcohol. So yeah, just get this really neat quality. I love that. Since there's more on there, one of the things I also do is I'll use even more, like really kind of flood it so that it kind of will run underneath the stencil and even kind of give it a really hazy or a really blotchy run look. See how it'll start getting really, it'll run a lot there. I like that. So that's pretty clean. And I know that I still have stuff on here, so let's go ahead and grab this off. Just pour a lot of alcohol on it and then just start rubbing it off. It's supposed to be messy and just kind of get just a really kind of crude edge to it. Because you can end up kind of, see how that really ran nicely? I like that. You can get some coffee or tea and then dye over this paper, stain it, get some really nice bits. So this is how I honestly clean my stencils, just to get the extra paint off. Of course, you know, you can clean your stencils in Murphy's oil soap. That's just a really good way of doing them, because you can just lay them in a pan and soak all this stuff off. But in the meantime, before you do that, you can also do this just to get some really cool. And even if there's nothing on the stencil, let's say one of them that we didn't even use, I'll just grab one. So we didn't use this one. You still have enough paint in the baby white to honestly transfer. So you can even put it in a stencil that doesn't have, oh, I like that. See how that really ran? I like it when it really sort of runs like that. Oh, I love it. So I just thought I would show you all really quickly what can be done. The baby wipe and a little bit of alcohol. I think I actually have more fun with this than I do with the paint. Alrighty. I know I keep on adding bonus footage, but I hope you guys appreciate this. I thought I would just show you like how, like, normally when I do a video, when I stop the video, I'll do all of this while I'm waiting for stuff to dry, and you all don't get the benefit of seeing this. When I do my workshops, this is the kind of stuff that I add in. So like when I'm done, I would clean my stencils, and I already showed you how I did that. Now, what would I do with this piece of paper? Well, I always keep a little bit of coffee on my desk, and you know, I like my spray dyes. So I would come back and just do a little bit of this with it using another baby wipe. I literally would go back in and just kind of finish this off so that it becomes something that I can actually use. So between the coffee and the staining like this, you know, you really just get something that is like really cool to be able to some of the gold, you know, something that goes beyond now just I'll sort of let this kind of run around, goes beyond just a piece of paper that we cleaned a stencil off. It actually becomes usable paper for a visual dialogue. And then even this right here, which is simply nothing more than a piece of paper that I cleaned. It was some black on there, and I just cleaned my baby wipe onto the paper, just doing this. Just scratching it in there, and then same thing. Get yourself some coffee. I love keeping my coffee here on the desk. And I'm even going to use a little bit of this eye zinc in the licorice. Oh my goodness, look at that. See, I would stop that right there and just let it dry and just let that have its way. Probably I'll put a little bit of this antique pearl. I'll make sure that I put the Seth's. Oh, these things are just brilliant. And so now you've taken some crummy pieces of paper that you clean stencils off with. And when they're done, I'll show you these when they're dry. They're just magnificent. So this is how I get all the different kind of papers, because I don't waste any paint. I don't waste any opportunities. I'm always looking for techniques that can flush stuff out and just take things to the next level. So just a real quick one there. And we'll be back with everything dried and on with collage. Okay, we're back for the final part. I tell you, this video has a lot of parts to it, but it was a lot to show, so I thought I tried to break it up so that I wasn't just spending a lot of time on long processes. But let me show you everything that's dry. We'll get to working on them. So these are obvious. They just look like gold leafing though, especially when you use that golden iridescent bronze. Good stuff. So we have these ones with the white. But let me show you how the pages that I cleaned up. So I kept a couple in so you can see what they look like beforehand. And, you know, I did the breakout videos so you can sort of see me making them, you know, just very usable. Look at this one. Just beautiful. I feel like a lot of times my cleanup pages and the stuff that I do, like sort of the random stuff, ends up just being like so amazingly beautiful. And I love, this is the kind of stuff I love using in my work. And this is just cleaning up. This one came out nicely, where I just sort of cleaned the gold off of the stencil. So you have this little faint bit of gold, and then sort of the overprinting. This is just the cleaning up the stencil. Now this is what I did I forgot to actually show you all on the tracing paper. So when I realized it, this was one that I cleaned off onto tracing paper and then stained it. This is another one where it was just like really faint. The faintest of cleaning on there. And then it just coffee stained. So you just get some really neat stuff that just builds up texture and pattern. And what I used was this tracing paper. Just cheap old dollar store. I think I paid $5 for this at Five and Below. It's 80 sheets in there, but I really like it because it's thin. And then when you wet it, it gets this nice crinkle to it. So let's get started. So I want to take, actually, I really want to take one of these pages here. Maybe even this one, I think will really be good. Let's go with that one. Because I'm going to glue this down, but this just has some nice, very faint pattern there. So we want that. Just get this in here. So I'm going to glue this down. Let's put this. Okay. And just kind of get the bottom here too. Just a little bit. And so this is obviously a cleanup sheet, but it makes a really nice organic background, which is what I like to start off, especially when I'm doing a lot of my my artwork and what have you. I just love nice organic surfaces. I mean, this already just has that sort of cave art, you know, cave wall kind of look to it. And so I'm really thinking about my art mythos, you know, the ArchaeoMythology, going to an ancient site. This is what thrills me when I just go to, you know, ancient sites and start kind of looking around and digging around, and just the beauty of the symbolism and the color, the earth, you know, just the color of the clay, the dirt, the rocks, all that stuff just really appeals to me. And I find that in my art, I feel like I'm constantly looking to mimic that, to be very honest. Just going to put a little extra on here. Make sure I have these edges. Okay. Let's put this down. Okay. So don't overlook cleaning your stencils, cleaning, you know, anything that you're using, because I mean, this just very subtle mark there. It's just literally cleaning some of the gold paint off of the stencil. Oh, and it just makes these really beautiful, subtle patterns. So now we have this going on here. And so I'm literally just going to kind of go in here and do some real kind of quick, kind of fussy tearing. I'm not going to really spend a lot of time I would probably be a little more fussy with this if I were just, working a piece of art for a journal and just for the purpose of you all seeing it. I know this video is already long enough. We'll just do a little tearing. We're still going to get a beautiful effect. So this is sort of the white. So what I start off doing is I'm going to just kind of start finding images to begin playing with. I think I'll go with this one here. I'll show you how to use something like this. And then let's find this one here. Let me see. Do this one here. I love working with these fragments on this tissue paper because you really can get it to disappear. And let's get a bit of this. Some of these. So I'm just kind of getting all my little pieces together here. And I don't want to cover all of that up, but I do want to get a little bit of this in there. So I'm just going to kind of rip it and just kind of take a bit. Okay. So let's see, this will kind of go there. Fingers are super sticky here, but okay. So that's a good place to kind of put that. So we're just going to build up a print or a collage here using all these fragments and just kind of like sort of duplicate maybe an old cave wall or some rock paintings or something that just has an old look to it, sort of that of textural materials. I'm just sort of fussy tearing. You could literally cut this too if you wanted. Let's kind of get that there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this sort of like, see what you can sort of do with your stencils or with these kind of images when you do them in all the different kind of colorways, especially making sure you do some black, some white. Is I'm going to kind of layer them like this, and when we put them down, glue them down, it'll create sort of like this drop shadow kind of look, so that you can use the black. Like in some instances you may want the black to be strong, and in some instances you may not. Let's get this piece here, because the whole point is to layer these elements so that we really get this feeling of a lot of textural history. And so we'll kind of put this down like that. And let's see what else. Let's get this. Let me see what else. I want another white one. Let's just use this one here. So you can put the white, you can finish with the white on the top. You can also use the white underneath to build up layers. You'll see as I put this down, they're going to start disappearing. It'll make sense when we start gluing this down. And I'm just going to kind of show you sort of a quick representation of this technique here in our journals. But of course, if I were working this, I would take more time with the images and what have you. But I know this video has been pretty long. So we're going to kind of do something like this. So I might want, I feel like I want something dark. Let's go with this little circle here. See, this was a whole stencil, but we certainly can take it apart and just work with one part of it. So we'll see how this looks layered. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get out, move this out the way. So we're going to use, where is it? Okay, my matte medium. So let's use some matte. You really want matte medium for this technique because you really want this, let me get one of my, can use this one. You really want the paper to disappear. So we really want stuff to disappear here. So we'll start off by putting this down. So in that general area, just going to put some matte medium. And the way the paper disappears the best is for it to get wet. So unlike a glue stick, you could use a glue stick, but the glue stick is not really going to cause this paper to disappear. But if we use matte medium like this, you know, the color just really goes down and becomes one with the page like that. So now I'm gonna kind of put this down to create like a drop shadow. And you can have fun with this idea of doing this drop shadow. It's a lot that can be done, but it's cool. See, already you kind of get this sense of, you know, image behind an image. So I'll use my blacks like that a lot, just to kind of create a subtle layer. I'm trying to figure out which side is the, I think it's this side. Okay, let's go ahead and put this down. And this is matte medium, so I don't have to worry about, you know, things being shiny when I'm done. It's good to get moisture. Make sure you get enough moisture underneath the paper before you put it down. And that's what really causes it to disappear, you know. So when it's drying, you know, it just goes down and becomes one with the paper. So let's go ahead and put this down. I love working with this like this. It's just good to get enough on here. Okay. There we are. This is a fun way to collage, working with our images. And this is just easy. Stencils, and you could literally also draw, paint on the, if you have images that you love painting, you can do the same thing. You can just lay it down. You know, lay paint down on the tissue paper by painting, and then and then, you know, cut that out and use it. So it's a lot of different ways. If you don't have a lot of stencils that you work with, just do mark making on the tissue paper. I mean, there's so many ways to work with this process. I think the biggest thing, sort of walk away that I'd like to leave you all with is the idea of working with these thin layers of tissue paper and really just building it up. And overlapping them. Let stuff overlap, you know, because it's going to go thin and you're going to be able to see what's underneath it. I think I'm going to kind of just, I kind of like this sort of floating, sort of right down there. I think that what it does is that it just brings a balance. We got a lot going on up there. So if we just kind of put this right down in this area, it'll bring some nice balance to this. Put that right there. And then when it dries, oh my goodness, all this gold will come back popping again. Right now everything is wet, but so this is basically just kind of using all those pieces. You'll see when it dries, so much of this is going to pop. It really looks good. So yeah, I'm gonna let this dry and you'll see the final results. And yes, there we have it. Okay, so here we are with the finished piece. You can really see how that gold is popping back out, but it's still subtle. It's still not, the matte medium has just knocked it back just a little bit, sort of enough so that everything I think really goes well with this sort of ancient sort of wall, you know, found, something we just kind of stumbled upon at an archaeological site or something, you know. But yeah, so you have all these fragments and you literally could just go, sorry about that, my puppy. You really could just